Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
What is going on and how y'all doing? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and we're back here for some more baseball news. As, of course, I've covered a retirement, a possible retirement today, and then I have a handful of injuries I want to cover. There's probably some more, but with it being the end of the season, unless it's really like something like that's going to impact something else long term, I'm not going to talk about like every single like minor injury. It's more so the ones in like the playoff race or some of the big ones that could be like a long term effect into like next season. So I want to keep it limited to that for both that and the transactions. Well, not so much for the transactions. There weren't too many transactions to talk about, but we got injuries is probably the bulk of the list. So let's roll in and talk about those. We're first going to start with two big news that's coming out from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So a couple weeks ago, Shohei Ohtani was shut down for pitching for the rest of the year, as it was revealed he had an elbow injury. Now, Ohtani did have Tommy John surgery back in 2018. It was revealed, though, that Ohtani had a tear in the UCL of his throwing elbow. There is still yet more further information to be addressed with the media, but that is basically the latest we got. Ohtani will need to undergo some type of procedure, but it's not been made official yet. It is possible full-on reconstructive elbow surgery, also known as Tommy John surgery, or something a little less severe, like an internal brace repair. But that is still yet to be determined. It is in a different area than the injury he had back in 2008 when he had Tommy John. Best case scenario given is that Ohtani plans to be in the lineup as a designated hitter next season. He may not be able to pitch. He still has been hitting since he suffered this injury. I think his power, though, has gone down. I don't think he's hit any home runs in a couple of weeks. He has 44. Had he not had this injury, he could have maybe gotten to 50. But he still has 44 homers. But he, as of September 4th, in 43 plate appearances, he is hitting around 300. So he's still doing the job. It's just he's not really hitting much for power right now, which could be impacted, of course, by this injury. He will, of course, be able to return to pitching as well someday, but the timetable for that, of course, is unknown, depending on the severity of the injury. Of course, though, this could mean that not just, the uncertainty of when Ohtani will pitch again, but, of course, probably also he may have pitched his last game as an Angel, because Ohtani is scheduled to be a free agent this offseason, and I don't think he's staying with the Angels. The Angels, though, did not trade him at the trade deadline because they thought they could still contend. Well, now the American League West has like a three-way battle for the top spot right now between the Texas Rangers, who are in kind of trouble right now. We'll talk about them momentarily. The Seattle Mariners, and the World Series champion from last year, Houston Astros, are all contending at the top. The Angels, since that trade deadline, fall way down towards the bottom. They're in 4th place because they have the Athletics, who are worse. You know, they've gotten some wins back. They're still worse. But, yeah, I don't think Ohtani's staying. I'm still predicting he goes to the Dodgers. The Dodgers, again, have been very quiet the past year or so. Haven't made too many big moves. Some more like reasonable players, but not like the big money names like an Ohtani or whatnot. One of them actually we'll be discussing later on in this video. But I think he's going to go to the Dodgers. But he probably won't be pitching right away with the Dodgers. So he'll at least be hitting, but probably not pitching right away. But that does suck. I hope it's not Tommy John again. You'd hate to see him go through a second Tommy John surgery. Then again, though, with him being a two-way player, again, it kind of doesn't surprise me. But then again, maybe he has more stamina than we think. But who knows? But hope for the best for Shohei. He's still going to be contributing some way with the bat still. But pitching, maybe a while until we see him pitch again. Now, other interesting news here, too. The injury bug continues to bite Mike Trout. As, of course, Miguel Cabrera prepares to retire in just a couple weeks. Mike Trout, of course, has probably been the next best player in the past 10 years, besides Miguel Cabrera. Unfortunately, though, in recent years, he's been bitten by the injury bug. I think there's 2 seasons since he's had some injury-plagued seasons where if Trout was healthy, he could have gotten to 50 homers. As he should have, and he deserves to, of course, as well. But Mike Trout, after being on the injured list, went right back to the injured list again on August the 24th. He started in center field the Tuesday the 22nd. He went 1 for 4. But then he sat out the next couple games, indicating that he remained in too much discomfort when hitting to continue playing through his injury. Which his injury he had he was out for a few weeks with a broken hamate bone in his left wrist on a swing, and he went surgery on July 5th. It was given a 4 to 8 week recovery. He came back in around 7 weeks, but I guess it wasn't enough. It is not, and it's still no update if Trout will indeed return this season. I think he has hit 263 with 18 homers, I believe it is, this year. I think he's past 350. I don't think he's close enough to 400 yet. But if he's healthy, maybe next season. Still pray he gets to 500 homers. I think he could, but again, his injuries, of course, have been costing him for sure. But that's not the news for Trout. I know this is not a transaction video. This is more injuries, but might as well address this while we're here. There's also been reports that Mike Trout has advised that he will be talking with the Angels this offseason about the future, indicating there could be a chance Mike Trout could be requesting a trade. Because the guy's 32 years old. He's not too young anymore. He really hasn't had much of a chance in his playing career to contend for the World Series. As a future Hall of Famer, a guy who is obviously contending to be one of the best players of all time, which again could be hurt if he continues to get injured, he really hasn't had a chance to play for the World Series. I feel like this should have been something he should have had conversations with years ago, before he signed that big 12-year extension that he had signed years ago, around the same time where Bryce Harper first joined the Phillies. Said, "Hey, why don't you come to the Phillies and you and I can, both be the greatest of all time with the same team?" Which would have been interesting, of course, if they would have done that. But I don't think it's happening now because the Phillies have both Schwarber and Castellanos in that outfield. Schwarber's DH. I can't remember who their other outfielder is besides Harper, of course. Well, Harper actually has moved to first base. And I think he wants to stay there permanently, for what I've heard. But it'd be interesting to see where Trout would go if he would get traded. I kind of don't blame him for feeling that way. Because, again, the Angels have been a very inconsistent franchise. They always seem like they've added those pieces, but even like a few pieces that they recently got in the trade deadline, some of them they just gave off on waivers recently. I think Lucas Giolito was one of them and a few others. They just gave off on waivers because they've sucked. They really have been one of the most inconsistent ball teams I have seen. They're great one year, then they're trash the next 5, basically. Like, just when you think they're getting better, they flat out. So, again, if Mike Trout is looking to get traded, I don't blame him. But the chance of him seeing again this year, not sure. And, of course, if that is the case, we also may have seen Mike Trout play his last game as an Angel, too. If he does get traded this offseason. We'll have to wait and see. Could be like when Juan Soto got traded the following year. Well, was it last year? We'll have to wait and see. Hold on, I gotta send this message. But anyways, we got that. Now, we're continuing on now. We're going to stay in the American League West for a second. The Rangers have had 2 big injuries. And it's not a good time either, because the Rangers have kind of been falling. They're kind of that one team that was like really hot, but are starting to fall off. Like the Mets, for example, because that seems to happen a lot to the Mets. They seem to collapse a lot later in the season. Unfortunately, it looks like the Rangers, because the Rangers have been cold. And they're still hanging up there for now, but they don't have the momentum by their sides. And they've lost 2 of their best players. One still has a chance to come back this year. The other doesn't seem to be going to be coming back for the rest of the year, as far as the regular season and the playoffs. But the one that still has a chance for the playoffs to come back is Adolis Garcia, who was injured recently when he crashed into the wall, and he suffered a right patellar tendon strain. Let me see here where we're at. Of course, in the midst of all this, the Rangers did call up their prospect Evan Carter, I believe it is. Is that his name? Evan Carter? Yeah, Evan Carter got called up. Of course, again, Garcia has a chance to return this year, but that window is tight, of course, as there's only 3 weeks left in the regular season. And Garcia was placed on the disabled list on September 7th, for what it sounds like. He has had one of his best years so far in his major league career. He's hit 34 home runs this year, but he's also struck out almost 28% of his plate appearances. And apparently, since August 7th, he has hit only $152, which is not good. Could he, because he was in the home run derby, right? Could he have, Garcia was never meant to hit for average to begin with. But could he be impacted a little bit by the home run derby? Because again, some players are, but there's some players like a Pete Alonso or a Yoenis Cespedes that does know how to handle the derby. But of course, again, that rough stretch for Garcia has also impacted on the playoffs hunt for the Rangers as well, who have, as a team, have been cold recently as well, as they're still in the race, but the momentum's not really on their side. So we'll have to wait and see, of course, if Garcia does make it back and if he can get back on track when he gets back. The one that's not returning this season definitely, and maybe not for the playoffs, is Max Scherzer, who of course was acquired from the Mets during the trade deadline. Scherzer has a teres major strain. Surgery is not needed, but he was out for the regular season and unlikely to pitch, of course, also in the playoffs either. Again, which is terrible news for the Rangers as well, as they lose one of their best hitters and one of their best pitchers as well. And their momentum is not really on their side. And of course, they've also lost Jacob deGrom also to Tommy John surgery, which he probably won't be back till like mid to late next year. So yeah, the Rangers have still got great pieces. They got, of course, an amazing manager, of course, with Bruce Bochy. But it's starting to fall off a little bit for them as well. So I am getting a little worried about them. Another team, though, that's suffering with some injuries with two of their best players, but doesn't seem like it's impacting them too much. They're still in the hunt, contending with the Rangers. Of course, it is a former postseason rival because of Jose Bautista's bat flip. Is the Blue Jays. Recently, they had both Matt Chapman, their third baseman, we'll get to him first. We'll talk about him first. Was injured due to a sprained right middle finger, and he's had he of course has fallen off a little bit this season, a little bit after getting off to a very, very hot start. Of course, this injury, of course, may have impacted it a little bit, but so we're hoping he gets back to help them with the playoffs. And the Blue Jays also, for a second time in a month, put Bo Bichette on the DL as well, their shortstop. It was retroactive to August 28th with a right quad strain. And of course, the funny thing was we talked about him in the transactions video last time, and he will be mentioned again in this coming one I record after this. The Blue Jays had actually acquired Paul DeJong from the Cardinals, but then he slumped. Bo Bichette came back, and then he got hurt again. So now they had to call up infielder Mason McCoy to help out while Bichette is gone. Again, so they've lost both of the left side of their infield. So hopefully they both get back because they're both key opponents. But I think the Blue Jays are still keeping solid afloat. Again, the Rangers are the team that they're losing momentum. They're on a downward spiral. They need something to get them back on track, perk them up and whatnot. The Blue Jays still seem to be okay, but yeah, gotta get that infield back. Another team that's still contending has lost two players recently. We had, first for the Marlins, we have two players for them. Sandy Alcantara, on September 6th, was placed on the 15-day injured list with a right forearm flexor. He's had kind of an off and on year. Not as good of a year as his Cy Young campaign from 2022, but kind of an off and on year. Well, then, yesterday it was announced that Alcantara has a UCL sprain, which, of course, isn't as bad. At least it's not a tear, but, of course, you gotta watch, because, of course, it could eventually require Tommy John surgery if it gets worse than that. There's no severity of the sprain yet announced, and they're hoping for him to return later, maybe by the end of the year. Don't know, because there's not too much time left. It can be a precursor to the extreme results of a tear, that could have lead to Tommy John, but it's just something that they're going to have to be careful with. Now, Alcantara, though, got to a rough start. I think he had an ERA in the 5s. But since July 3rd, he's had an ERA of 3.04. So he is getting back on track a little bit. But of course, that's a big blow for the Marlins for sure, as they're still in the wild card hunt. I mean, I don't think they're going to get in, but they're going to have an interesting finish this season. And then, oh shoot, I accidentally deleted the one I did not want to. Hold on. Gotta get back to this. Where is the other one? I gotta get there. There we go. Okay. The other person that was injured for Marlins is Jorge Soler. Who, Soler, as we know, is one of the most inconsistent hitters in the league. For sure. One year, he's having an all-star campaign, but then the following year, he is either getting injured or he is just hitting absolutely atrocious. But of course, he's having a good year. He's having probably his second best season. Well, I don't want to call it second best or third best because The last time he had a good season, I think he had some injury, not as high of numbers, was the season when he split between the Royals and the Braves in 2021 and won the World Series with the Braves, and I think he won World Series MVP, I think it was. And of course, his best season still was 2019, when he led the American League in home runs with 48 with the Royals. But this season, though, he has hit 35 home runs and has hit 240. And apparently he has talked and possibly staying with the Marlins. I think he's in the second year of a 3-year deal, I believe it is. But, yeah, that's another big blow for the Marlins as well. Someone, of course, who has the experience, of course, being in the playoffs, too. So that's another big blow for them. So hopefully he will get back soon. JD Martinez, who was like one of the... When I referred earlier to when I was talking about Ohtani with the... with how they signed some, like, lower-priced players that are still productive... J. Martinez was one of them that the Dodgers grabbed. On Tuesday, August 22nd, he was placed on a 10-day DL with a groin strain. I think he might be back. I didn't see reports in the rumors, but I don't know 100% sure if he's back yet or not. I thought he was, but I'm not sure. But he was having a solid campaign, too. He's got 26 homers. Kind of a little bit of a bounce back here. But he got hammered for a bit as well, but... Hopefully, he should be back probably any day now, if he's not back yet. So we got J.D. Martinez. Carlos Carrasco for the Mets suffered a fracture on his right fifth finger. And he's going to be out for, announced on the 5th of September, he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. Which most likely means he is most likely done for the rest of the season. Probably should be, since the Mets aren't even contending at all right now. Which, of course, does blow. And it's been, of course, a frustrating season as well. I think he was put on waivers, but he cleared waivers and didn't go anywhere. He also missed over a month of the season due to right elbow inflammation. So he's logged a 6.80 ERA in 90 innings. So we don't know if that could lead to maybe him departing from the team or whatnot. Well, or we'll see what happens. Because the Mets, after having a great year last year... really fell off. I mean, they started to collapse towards the end of the season, and that collapse is carried over to this season. They're also talking about maybe trading Pete Alonso. They traded most of their pitching staff at the trade deadline. So who knows what's going to happen. This next one really sucks for me. Andrew McCutchen for the Pirates. Unfortunately, they announced last week that he has a partial tear in his left Achilles. And he's out for the rest of the year. Ouch. Don't know how long that'll keep him out since it's only a partial tear. I know an Achilles tear can keep you out for quite a while. Maybe even like a year, I think, or something like that. But quite a while. But it's a partial, so hopefully it's not as long. McCutchen, who's 36, about to turn 37 next month, returned to the Pirates this season. Did okay, of course. He has expressed an interest of coming back next year, which I like to see. Definitely, I think he wants to come back to at least get to the 300 home run club. He has 299. He's one home run shy of 300 homers. I think he will come back for one more year. He's only about to turn 37. I mean, he'll probably miss part of the season next year, maybe. Who knows? But I think he will come back. And if he comes back, do it with the Pirates. Again, at this point, Kutch has no business playing elsewhere to finish his career. Let him finish his career with the team, and I'll keep saying, the team he made into a fun club to watch again for a few years. He was the face of that franchise. This man deserves to finish his career with that team. Just like Albert Pujols got to come back to the Cardinals. Just like Ken Griffey Jr. got to come back and finish his career with the Mariners. And a few others. Andrew McCutchen deserves to finish his career with the team he will always be best known for. The Pittsburgh Pirates. So hopefully he'll be back next year. Two more things for injuries. The Pirates also announced that O'Neal Cruz will not be back this season, as he did suffer a setback in his rehab process from his broken ankle. He suffered back in April, which has kept him out for just about the whole year. So yeah, he's out for the rest of the year. And then we also have Yu Darvish, which I always keep forgetting he still plays, even though he seems like he still does pretty well. It's just that he's that silent good pitcher, basically. That, you know, he does good, but you just don't hear much about him. But unfortunately, he got placed on the DL back on August 26th with inflammation, with some type of like a stress reaction in his elbow or something like that. But I guess it's gotten a little more severe, so they're shutting him down for the rest of the season. And of course, the Padres, who despite the fact that they have the best ERA in baseball, still have a losing record. But, you know, it's weird. I don't know, but we'll see. The Padres also, though, could be in trouble because I think a lot of their starting rotation is going to be free agents. But, of course, the free agent market will have a lot of starting pitchers this offseason. So, we'll see what it does. That's my thoughts on some injuries in baseball. That's all the ones I got to talk about. A couple transactions I'll do in the next video. But, yeah, leave guys thoughts on all of that. We've spent the bulk of the time talking about the Angels with Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. So we'll see what we have with transactions. What are your guys' thoughts on all these injuries that's happening? Again, do you think Ohtani will return to the Angels next year? What about Mike Trout? Will he be back as well? Do you think the Rangers can keep their momentum going, despite the fact that, again, they've been falling off the edge? They lost Adolis Garcia to injury. Maybe not for the rest of the year, but they've lost Max Scherzer for the rest of the year and the playoffs most likely as well. Or will Evan Carter set up for them as well? Could the Blue Jays get back their left side of the infield to finish off the season as well? Could the Marlins also hang on as well, maybe get a wild card spot? We'll wait and see. And do you think Andrew McCutchen, of course, will be back next year with the Pirates? I think he should, as I said before. Leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter at the Club of the Man 93 and also on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you guys all later. Have a great rest of your day. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion. That is a fact of life. Yeah!